This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Crews have been out all night after high wind knocked out power to 150,000 people in upstate New York Thursday. Every county in the state had outages when you woke up this morning.
And the wind, I looked out the front window and it was horizontal, and it happened so fast.
RG&E, NYSEG, and National Grid exhausted.
When it's a widespread event like this, it really bogs down National Grid.
Just 26,000 remain in the dark at this hour. 5 in every 6 people who had no power yesterday do have power today, many touting the hard work of the linemen across the state.
DPW is so good in Saratoga. Within 2 hours, this thing will be cleaned up and gone and done.
The National Weather Service will be on the ground today to survey whether or not any of this wind was a tornado. There were tornado warnings yesterday in Cattaraugus County near Salamanca, in central New York near Taganic Falls, and in Steuben County in Campbell.
We have trees down and our front yard was pretty wrecked. Cars with windshields are broken. Our garage has holes in the roof and everything.
The town of Cortland had dozens of trees down. As people came home from work one by one, they helped each other out.
I feel like it's just really important for all of us to come together, and if you can help, help.
Right away, we were walking up and down the street making sure everybody was okay. And then, the men that have the chainsaws, they're right out there. Let me help you. Let me help you.
The sound of the storm replaced by the bustle of cleanup. It's all quiet on the Western Front today. Kevin's got your full forecast coming up in a few minutes. Soaking the South, parts of Louisiana have declared a state of emergency under the remnants of Tropical Storm Arthur. It continues to unleash life-threatening flooding. This family evacuated their RV and then went back to take a peek.
We wanted to see how high the river was and see if anybody needed help, to see if we could help them get out. I saw 3 snakes down at the river in the water. My mom nearly stepped on one. The downpours measuring in feet with more rain on the way. Postponed 2 days after the big signing ceremony in France, talks with Iran in Geneva were halted at the last minute. Vice President J.D. Vance is not going to Switzerland today as scheduled. Former President Obama weighing in on NBC this morning.
It feels like we're back where we were before we started the war, except maybe a little bit worse off.
He's not alone. Many Republicans like Ted Cruz are not on board.
History demonstrates that giving billions of dollars to theocratic lunatics who want to murder us is an exceptionally bad idea. And I think, unfortunately, the president is receiving some really bad advice on this deal.
J.D. Vance saying yesterday they went into the deal knowing they're taking it hour by hour.
The Israelis, just like everybody else, have to respect this peace process that is fundamentally good for them and good for the entire region. What the president has grown frustrated sometimes is that we seem to be right on the cusp of a major breakthrough in the agreement, and then all of a sudden there's a major explosion that goes off in a civilian population center in Beirut, and a lot of people who have nothing to do with Hezbollah lose their lives. That's not acceptable.
Meanwhile, in Lebanon,
Israel, which was not involved in these negotiations, has made it clear it will not withdraw. And overnight, Israel's military says it struck Hezbollah targets across Lebanon, with Lebanese officials reporting at least 16 deaths.
ABC's Karen Waugh, reporter Mary Bruce.
President Trump has made clear he expects Israel to get on board with this deal, but there is no question this is really testing the president's relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump has been increasingly openly frustrated with him.
The White House saying they'll get back at it as soon as possible, but for now, the peace process paused. Despite that, gas prices continue to fall. The price for an average gallon of gas nationwide is $3.95 today. Gas expert Rebecca Jarvis.
Prices go up like a rocket, but they come down like a feather. And with these talks stalled now, it throws another wrench in. Prices of oil are started above $120 a barrel in the midst of this war. They are down this morning to about $77 a barrel.
A new coat of paint that was recently applied to the Washington, D.C. reflecting pool is starting to peel off. That, plus a relentless algae bloom, is leaving sections of the water bright green. National Park Service crews spent Thursday treating the water with hydrogen peroxide. Vice President J.D. Vance has been interview hopping all week long to promote his new book. Last night, he did an interview with influencer Stephen Bartlett and told him when President Trump picked him as VP, he initially missed the phone call.
Call went straight to voicemail, like it never rang. And so I get a text message from a friend of mine who's now the White House Chief of Staff, said, "You just missed a very important phone call." I called him back. I said, "What's up, Mr. President?" He said, "JD, you just missed a very important phone call. I'm going to have to pick somebody else now."
Vance saying he looked at his phone in horror when he realized he just ghosted the future president of the United States.
But then he asked me, and the rest is history, man.
Did you know at that time what you were signing up for?
No, I had no idea. No idea.
From missed calls to the longest wait, today is Juneteenth. The federal holiday marks the 2.5 years between the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation and the day that the news arrived to slaves in Texas that they were free. Every year, Opal Lee takes a 2.5-mile walk in her hometown of Fort Worth. She's still taking that walk at 99 years old. Lee, known as the grandmother of Juneteenth, a retired American teacher that pushed hard to make the day federally recognized. And he is an American hero. On Thursday, 59 years late, Major James Capers Jr. was awarded the Medal of Honor in Washington, D.C. for his work in Vietnam.
Jim was recommended for the Medal of Honor in 1967, and everybody knew he should get it. But his commanding officer, who was his biggest fan, was tragically killed before the paperwork was signed.
Capers Jr. becoming the first African-American Marine Corps officer to be awarded the nation's highest military decoration. He led his 9-man team on a 4-day reconnaissance patrol where they were brutally ambushed. He suffered shrapnel wounds and was shot, but led all of his men to a helicopter for evacuation. He spoke to Fox News this morning.
You were so stoic in these images, and I was watching this and thinking, I wonder if he's thinking about his friends, the men that didn't come home.
Yeah, you always think about that. You never turn that loose. You know, lost a lot of good men in battlefields, and I fought 2 wars and suffered 19 bullet holes.
Never too late to honor an 88-year-old military hero. Still to come on the Noon Report, Trump is coming to Pennsylvania. Visit Niagara Falls without visiting Niagara Falls. And the one thing I can guarantee that you have never bought at a Wegmans grocery store is now for sale. But weather first.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. After a very turbulent day yesterday, things have calmed down a bit, but there's still a couple of thunderstorms in the area this afternoon and a breeze. We'll have that and the weekend call, mostly good news, coming up in 10.
All right, Kevin, checking the stories making news where you live in New York and Pennsylvania. Our top story remains weather cleanup. What a zinger the wind was yesterday. The top wind gusts logged at Rochester International Airport were around 56 miles an hour. Alyssa Hughes seeing tree damage in her neighborhood for the first time after storms rolled through Monroe County.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, it uprooted and everything.
She says she's thankful she wasn't on the road.
I was supposed to be somewhere today, and I actually stayed home because I was really worried about possible damage, and I worry about the dogs.
Those winds left 150,000 people upstate in the dark yesterday. This woman found a tree through her car.
I was like, oh my gosh, my car. But then I've seen worse pictures of people that have had like houses damaged, cars totaled, so I feel really blessed.
Nate Morris with WHEC explains why outages and tree damage was so high.
Top wind speeds yesterday were only around 50 to 55 miles per hour. Now, normally that's not too impressive. Yes, it's windy, but it doesn't typically cause as much damage as we saw yesterday. The issue is, well, there's 3 of them. Number 1, we had rain, so the ground was saturated. That means the tree roots don't have as much support. Number 2, the wind was pretty much an issue all day, just nonstop. And third is that the trees have leaves on them. Usually when you get crazy winds, it's during the winter or the fall when the trees don't have as much leaves and the wind can pass through them a little bit more easily. You had them down just all over the place, causing all that damage.
A tornado warning halted regents and finals exams at Salamanca schools. Officials there say there will be a retake. And a large tree fell across 490 eastbound in Pittsford, blocking both lanes. Everything's back open today, but what a wild night of wind. President Trump will visit a Pennsylvania manufacturing plant next week. Representative Dan Muser announced Thursday Trump will make an appearance at the Mack Trucks plant near Allentown. He says Mack Trucks are a symbol of America's manufacturing strength. Trump will deliver remarks at 2 p.m. Tuesday, June 23rd. A federal appeals court has ruled the Trump administration can remove and replace a Philadelphia slavery exhibit, reversing a lower court ruling that required the federal government restore displays it had taken down earlier this year. The case centers around items at the President's house at Independence National Historic Park, including panels, displays, and video exhibits that contained information about 9 people who were enslaved by George Washington. It's got civil rights groups up in arms.
The intention of the President's house site was to talk about the foundation of this country with slavery as the backbone and the wealth engine.
Trump's team says the exhibit will not be erased, but rather replaced by items that show both sides of the story rather than one-sided history. In the end, it came down to the law, though. A 3-judge panel ordered the district from the initial ruling has no authority because the city of Philadelphia doesn't own the property. New York has advanced a charter bus safety bill after the deadly New York State Thruway crash last year in Pembroke that killed 5 and injured nearly 50. Officials say many were not wearing their seatbelts. This new bill would require pre-trip safety briefings. Supporters of the bill say many people are unaware of a law that requires passengers on charter buses to wear seatbelts. The driver of that bus, Bin Shao, has been charged with 5 counts of second-degree manslaughter. A Pennsylvania lawmaker is proposing legislation to recruit teachers. Family Life's Mark Webster has details.
Pennsylvania's Department of Education's Educator Workforce Report found approximately half of all school buildings in PA reported at least one teacher vacancy in the 2024-25 school year. There were 9,200 teachers needed in 2013 and 28,000 needed a decade later in 2023. If passed, the bill would direct a portion of teacher certification fees into a talent recruitment account, which provides grants to colleges to fund students pursuing teaching degrees. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Destiny USA Mall is in financial trouble after missing a $70 million payment deal. The mall is in the hole for $714 million, but if they'd made the payment on time, some of that debt would have been wiped clean. Mall owners say they're still recovering from the COVID-19 shutdown. One of New York's most iconic places, Niagara Falls, just opened 2 new attractions.
It felt like if you're a roller coaster enthusiast, this is for you.
Attraction number 1, not an actual roller coaster, but a permanent exhibit inside the lower level of the Ralph Wilson Welcome Center, a virtual reality machine with motion-enhanced seating that visually takes you right over Niagara Falls. It's called Above the Roar.
It was an ultimate reality experience in visiting the falls and going over.
Attraction 2 is Voices of the Falls. It includes historical narratives and video presentations about indigenous people who lived at the falls hundreds of years ago. The president of the Seneca Nation spoke with WGRZ.
It's important for them. The first thing that they can see and experience is our culture and our heritage of the native people of this region, and our contributions, I think, is important as well.
Both exhibits open to the public today. Vestal, New York is taking part in the world's largest swimming lesson. Patrick Harnan is the event coordinator with the Vestal Recreation Department. He spoke with WBNG.
The world's largest swimming lesson is a global event that takes place in, I believe, over 100 countries on 6 continents. It's a half-hour free swim lesson, just trying to sort of get out the word to parents and kids that water safety is important. And their big message for the last few years has been swimming lessons save lives. we're really big on that.
2 sessions will be held at the Vestal Memorial Pool on June 25th. Drowning is the number 1 cause of death for kids ages 1 to 4 and the second largest cause of death for kids ages 5 to 14. And here's a strange thing that you might not have bought in a Wegmans before. The Wegmans in Hamburg is now selling seats from the old Bills Stadium inside the grocery store. Got to go to Hamburg, though, to get it.
We'll carry it until we sell out. We know that the stadium, they're looking to get rid of everything by Monday. So by Monday, it'll be all gone.
Yes, you too can pick up an old stadium seat to plop down on by your dining room table or your 65-inch TV. Wegmans spokesperson Michelle Mahaffey told WGRZ it's an odd item to stock, even for them.
This is definitely a unique item. This is not something that comes up every day, obviously. We don't build a new stadium all the time. So to have something like this is just another one of those great mementos from the Bills Highmark Stadium.
Stadium seating with a cold cup of milk and some Wegmans Ultimate Chocolate Chip Cookies, all accomplished on the same shopping trip in Hamburg. On deck next, a check of sports with Mark Webster.
Good afternoon, Sarah. We begin with World Cup soccer with all eyes on Christian Pulisic's left calf. The U.S. star's leg injury making him questionable for this afternoon's Group D match in Seattle against Australia. That kicks off at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Yesterday, Mexico became the first team to advance to the knockout round with a shutout of South Korea. Canada blasted Qatar 6-0, but lost star Ismail Kone to a broken leg on a tackle from behind. Qatar drew 2 red cards in that match, finishing with just 9 players. From Shins to Shinnecock Hills, the Long Island golf course hosting the men's U.S. Open. As round 2 got underway this morning, the pack was chasing 2023 Open champ Wyndham Clark, who entered the day with a 4-stroke lead at 6 under. 8 players entering today 4 strokes back of Wyndham. On to baseball, where it was Juan Soto versus the Phillies.
1-2 in the air to right field. That's it pretty well. Marsh is going back, and the Mets will have a 1-0 lead. That's his 16th home run of the year. That's now 23 career home runs against the Phillies.
The first of 2 homers for Soto, who also threw in a spectacular outfield catch to lead the visiting Mets to a 6-4 win over the Phils. Meantime, the White Sox went bombs away on the Bronx Bombers.
Duvall serves one up, deep right field, and that is gone. Benintendi pinch hitting, and the first pitch he sees unloads a grand slam to right.
Chicago a 5-1 winner over the Yanks. Other MLB winners yesterday: Toronto, Washington, Minnesota, Seattle, KC, and Oakland. And one big move in the NHL. The Toronto Maple Leafs, fresh off of hiring a new coach, have now acquired defenseman Darren Raddysh from the Tampa Bay Lightning. In exchange for a 5th-round pick, the Leafs will sign Raddysh to an 8-year contract, averaging just over $8 million a year. I'm Mark Webster, and that's a look at sports.
Still to come on the Noon Report, the best states for working dads ahead of Father's Day, and the Day of the Christian Martyr is closing in. We'll sit down with Voice of the Martyrs Vice President Todd Nettleton.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. When no one really felt compelled to make the case that mothers matter until the onset of so-called same-sex marriage, it is only within the last decade or so that we've pretended that the ones who physically bear and nurture children, who do the most listening and worrying, who are the first ones small kids run to when they're hurt or scared, are somehow replaceable. It is, of course, ridiculous, really, as ridiculous as those photos of 2 men laying in a hospital bed as if either one of them had just given birth. Of course, mothers matter, but Father's Day is a great opportunity to also say that fathers matter. The importance of fathers was overlooked by social science research until recent decades. But now, study after study continues to reveal ways that dads are uniquely significant and integral to their children's growth and well-being. In fact, what the research is clearly showing is not only that moms and dads matter, but it's the differences between moms and dads that matter most. Years ago, I interviewed one of the early voices to make this case to a secular audience. The late Paul Rayburn normally wrote about research and discoveries from the hard sciences like chemistry, physics, and biology. He wrote on these scientific topics for popular publications like the New York Times, Science, Psychology Today, and others. However, in 2014, Rayburn detoured into the social sciences to explore the topic of fatherhood. When I asked him why, he told me, and I quote, "I've got 5 kids. I wanted to know if I mattered." Well, his conclusion, detailed in the book Do Fathers Matter, was a resounding yes. Fathers, he found, contribute far more than genes and hopefully just a paycheck. Drawing on the work of neuroscientists, animal behaviorists, geneticists, and developmental psychologists, Rayburn showed that fathers make a difference at every stage of a child's development, from conception through adulthood. Dads are a source of physiological, psychological, relational, even spiritual and social stability that children will carry with them throughout their lives. And today, new research continues to affirm and expand Rayburn's conclusions. Research confirms that when a dad throws a cackling baby in the air or chases a toddler around on all fours until both collapse in fits of laughter, it shapes the child's emotional regulation. Researchers describe the unique attachment created by these kinds of behaviors, calling them secure exploration, encouraging children to explore the world with less anxiety, confident they always have a secure refuge to return to, someone to help them make sense of what they've learned. Secure exploration jumpstarts children into mastering hard or more frustrating tasks and helps them understand the dynamics and boundaries of healthy relationships. Now, all of that makes sense to Christians because Scripture describes God as a loving Father who designed the human family around the distinct but essential contributions of both male and female. Children thrive with involved fathers and mothers because the two are not the same, and that's the way the whole thing was designed. And so, I join with Katie Faust, who wrote this week for the Greater Than campaign, and I quote, "To all the dads who toss a toddler in the air at the airport while every mother in the terminal holds her breath, to the dads who rev the engine a little too loudly and teach a son how to drive the stick shift before their feet can even reach the pedals, to the dads who throw the ball in the backyard until it's too dark to see it and then throw a few more, to the dads who play house with their daughters and teach them how to dance, to the dads who say rub some dirt on it and they mean it as love, to the dads who teach a son how to be a man and teach a daughter exactly how a man should treat her, to all the dads committed to being the dad that God made them to be. Happy Father's Day." For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. For this afternoon, it's a mix of sun and clouds, breezy, low humidity. Watch for a stray shower thunderstorm, though. High temperatures upper 60s and 70s. Then for tonight, becoming mainly clear, low temps comfortably cool 50s. Tomorrow and Sunday, generally sunshine, some patchy mixed clouds. Can't rule out a brief shower either afternoon, but on balance, it's a nice weekend with high temperatures generally in the 70s.
Thank you, Kevin. Welcome back. This is the Noon Report on Family Life, and I'm your host, Sarah Harnish. Just in case you forgot, Father's Day is just 2 days away. In a tribute to dads, where's the best place to live? Let's listen in.
Hi, I'm Bob Price, and this is a Family Life News special report. Next at noon, we're taking a closer look at a new Wallet Hub survey on the best states for working dads. Father's Day is Sunday, after all. Our guest is Wallet Hub spokesman Chip Lupo. He explains how this list was compiled anyway, and what working dads look forward to the most when it comes to their occupation. Here it is, the best states for working dads, Wallet Hub's Chip Lupo. Massachusetts came in number 1 this year. New Mexico was last. New York State, 14. Pennsylvania, 16 on the list. Chad, to get started, what was the criteria you used in compiling this list?
Well, Bob, what we tried to do is we tried to create a comprehensive look at states for working dads. For years, we put out studies for the best states for working moms and figured, well, because child care and child rearing has become so much of a balancing act in your traditional two-parent households, that why not take a look at some of these same states or what the best states would be for working dads? So what we looked at, Bob, was 4 key dimensions: economic and social well-being, work-life balance, which is crucial, child care, hot topic these days, and overall health. And then there was 22 related metrics, and those run from like average workday length, child care costs, another key issue, and percentage of men in good or better health. And so we crunched the numbers, and this is 50 states and Washington, D.C. As you alluded to, New York sits at 14, and Pennsylvania at 16. Those are good, solid numbers, but if you look at the overall scope of the study, if you look at the overall results, you'll find that well into the top 20, it is dominated by the eastern seaboard. These northeastern states tend to have higher median annual income to be able to offset things like child care costs, health care costs.
I was shocked to see that almost 1 in 5 stay-at-home parents are dads. What are the main reasons, Chip, that dads are choosing to work from home?
Well, in a lot of cases, dads work types of jobs that can easily be transitioned to home. A lot of jobs where you can stay at home and do your Zoom calls and at the same time be there for the cable man, be there when the children come over to school and that kind of things. And I think more and more companies are kind of pushing to more of a hybrid approach where you're seeing somewhat of a shift from the COVID era where it was all work from home to more of a hybrid model.
Sure. What are some of the biggest issues facing working dads today?
Well, one of the biggest issues is child care, quality, which is key, and, of course, access. Now, what New York and Pennsylvania have in common is that you have your urban centers. You have New York, you have Buffalo, and then, of course, there's Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, but there's a lot of rural space in between those metro areas where the access is limited, the costs are higher.
I wonder what impact overall this phenomenon of dads working from home had on overall health and well-being of children.
It's a very interesting dynamic, and I think in a lot of ways it benefits children to have at least one of the parents at home. Now, we're talking about this is a summer, and if one of the spouses happens to be in education profession, you've got your summers off, and that's great to have quality time bonding with the children. One thing that I noticed, too, with particularly with the states at the bottom of the study, is that in a lot of cases, particularly in the Deep South, you still have that strong family bond where maybe you live in a house and your in-laws live across the street or your parents live in the general neighborhood. So there's this larger family connection. So in a lot of cases, there's not necessarily a need for child care. So that's why maybe some of the child care numbers are down in some of these southern states.
Yeah.
So I do think that having at least one parent at home while working, I think that sets up a lifelong bond that's going to stay with the kids forever.
Folks want more information, Chip, about this study. Where can they find you online?
Just log on to wallethub.com and in the search bar, just type best and worst states for working dads or just the keyword working dads, and it'll run you right to the study.
That is Chip Lupo with Wallet Hub on the best states for working dads. Father's Day again is this Sunday, folks. Don't forget. New York came in 14th on the list. Pennsylvania 16. Massachusetts number 1. New Mexico was last. I'm Bob Price, and this is the Noon Report on Family Life.
You can catch Bob Price's entire interview online anytime under the special features button at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org. Finally, at noon, June 29th is the Day of the Christian Martyr. Voice of the Martyrs Vice President Todd Nettleton says this year they're celebrating by remembering the story of Perpetua, who was killed at the hands of the Romans in AD 200 for her faith. Todd sat down for an interview with the Family Life News team.
Day of the Christian Martyr is a day when we honor the example of people who laid down their lives for the cause of Christ. So each year we focus on a particular martyr, and the date is very significant. June 29th, the Day of the Christian Martyr, is, according to church history, that's the date the Apostle Paul was beheaded outside the city of Rome. So it is a very significant date in Christian history, and what better day to look at the example, to be inspired by the example of people who were willing to die rather than deny Christ.
This year, Voice of the Martyrs is focusing on the incredible story of Perpetua. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, Perpetua was a young wife, very young, 21, 22 years old, who was martyred in the city of Carthage, which is in modern-day Tunisia, but was a Roman outpost in North Africa. She was from a noble family, came to know Christ, and was arrested for it, eventually executed in a Roman arena in Carthage. One of the most unique things about Perpetua's story is while she was in prison, before she was executed, she kept a journal, and that journal has survived. In fact, it is one of the earliest examples, maybe the earliest example, of a woman writing things that has survived into modern days. It's one of the earliest examples we have of a woman writing things down. But her journal is really an amazing story. Her own father, she was a young woman with a baby, had a very young son, and her own father said, deny Christ, burn incense to the emperor. You don't have to mean it, just burn it so that you can come home and raise your son. We need you to come back. And she famously pointed to a vase that was there in the prison and said, what is that? And her dad said, well, it's a vase. And she said, well, is there another name for it? Can you call it anything else? And he said, no, it's a vase. And she said, I'm a Christian. You can't call me anything else other than a Christian. I'm not going to burn incense to the emperor. He is not my God. Jesus is God. So you cannot call me anything else. Eventually, she was mauled by wild beasts in the arena, but that didn't kill her. She was killed by a gladiator, and alongside other Christians in that arena that day in 203 AD.
I love that you threw the year in there because it shows us how strong the Christian church was, the early Christian church after Jesus. We're talking 200 years after the death of Christ. That's 5-6 generations, and people are still willing to die for his story. These weren't people that had a first-person account of the death of Christ.
Right. The gospel was spreading even in that day. And as you say, the amazing thing is how willing people were, and frankly, it's still amazing today that our brothers and sisters are willing to lay down their lives for the cause of Christ. And oftentimes, it's not somebody who's been walking with Christ for 25 years and they've gone to seminary and, they have all this training to get them ready. It's like, no, they have experienced the presence of Christ. And once that happens, you can't talk them out of it. You can't beat them out of it. You can't call them anything else other than followers of Jesus.
What do you do at VOM for the Day of the Christian Martyr?
Well, we have a number of resources available on our website, persecution.com. Right on the front page, you can link to the Day of the Christian Martyr resources. One of the most visible of those is a short video. It's about 2.5 minutes long. And our hope is that this is something you'll share with other people. Maybe show it in your Sunday morning service on the 28th. Maybe show it in a Bible study group or a Sunday school class. And the idea is not only are we honoring the memory of Perpetua, we're honoring the memory of those who laid down their lives for Christ, but hopefully we're also thinking about, what would I give? What would I give to see my neighborhood reach for Jesus? What would I give to advance the gospel in my community? We're probably not going to be asked to lay down our lives, most of us at least, living in the United States right now. We're probably risking maybe an awkward conversation. That's the worst case scenario is, wow, it got really awkward with my neighbor and now they think I'm a religious zealot and they won't talk to me anymore. That's probably the most dangerous thing that could happen for most of us as we advance the gospel. And so hopefully we're inspired by Perpetua, we're inspired by the Apostle Paul and so many others throughout history to be willing to take that risk.
That's Vice President of Voice of the Martyrs, Todd Nettleton. You can go check out their work at persecution.com. And that is the world that we live in for Friday, the 19th of June. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is Family Life News.
You've been listening to The Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.